John, I'm going to go on to the artwork side of it now, and John Finsell hopefully will be bringing up each painting that we're going to talk about in the order that we do so.
Okay.
I'm just going to go into my file here and open it up. The first one that I'd like to talk about is a very pretty or excellent painting of what you call the RAR Fire Force painting, where you've got a lynx in the foreground, a Dakota over to the right with the troopers jumping out, a chopper down below. Obviously, self-explanatory for us guys that were in the Rhodesian military, but
Yeah.
you've captured the color of the Dakota and the aircraft beautifully, as well as the land below. What was your incentive for doing this particular painting?
Yeah.
Yes,
One
yes.
RAR Fire Force. Yeah. That actually was commissioned by the battalion I hadn't joined the army at that stage, but I'd been doing a lot of paintings for individuals in Bulawayo who
Mm-hmm.
were serving. And then Lieutenant Colonel Charlie Horse came to see me, and he said, "John, he said, would you do me a painting for the RLI?" So I did a big Dakota painting of Operation Dingo that he described to me. That's now sitting in Bedford in the collection in Bedford. Um,
Yeah, it's a
and
beautiful painting,
yeah, so
and
so from that painting, we I met up with Wayne Thompson and Tony Clark and Trevor Jones. Was it Trevor Jones? Anyway, at the Remembrance, and I think it was 79, it was either 78 or 79. So this is before I joined the army,
mm,
and they realised who I was and my dad was, and they started talking to us. You see. So they said we want to commission two paintings. So that was one of the two paintings. It was they wanted a Fire Force scene and a land tail scene.
we'll
So that
move
was the
we'll
Fire
move
Force scene.
we'll move on to the land tail, which
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
is a crocodile with drums of F2 or F
yeah,
gas or whatever,
yeah,
four
yeah.
choppers taken off.
That's it. That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
that was all part of it. Now,
Yeah,
did you have photographs to work off? Because if you hadn't seen these particular scenes yourself with your own eyes,
yeah.
how did you know how to paint it? Was it all photographs or what?
Well, I had a lot of photographic reference. So at that stage, I didn't have the reference that I had later on once I joined the army. But I had been taking a lot of interest in what was going on. So I usually was photographing stuff.
Mm,
I'd seen some of the helicopters
yeah.
at the agricultural show. And of course, they had Avter barrels near them and all that sort of thing. So,
Mm.
you know, I'd sort of just put things together. In fact, I think it was a Puma in the painting, but it should have been a two-cab Puma, which would have been Army. But it wasn't far off what it should have been. So there were little things I would probably change now because,
Yeah.
in hindsight, you know. But that particular painting, we don't know where it is. But the big Fire Force with the links, that's up in Bedford as well. It's still being shown and seen by people.
Now, the next one, we'll have to go through them reasonably quickly, is
Okay.
Corporal Stanley Majiji. Was he somebody special in your life?
Yeah, Corporal Stanley Mazize. Unfortunately, passed away last year. Great character. Funny enough, he taught the course, our regular army course on the 60 millimeter mortar. He and Sergeant Jack from support company 1RAR, and of course, they were Pat Lawless's men, right?
Right.
They were his part of his platoon, and you know what? Those two men would come and see me on a regular basis just to check that I was okay with A
Wow.
Company all the time. They'd come over. How are you, sir? How are things going?
Wow.
And we'd have a lovely chat. I'd go and see them in support company because they were right next door. A Company was right next to support company. So I'd pop over to see them as well. They're great characters, but sadly both passed away now.
You captured the uniform very well, the colours. The Rhodesian camouflage, I believe, has been voted in the top 5 in the world, probably at number
Uh,
three. Number three,
yeah,
I
yeah,
believe,
Tony. I've heard that. Yeah.
and I believe it was done through a lady working at was it David Whitehead's, just fiddling around on a piece of paper,
Oh no,
and
no, I didn't know that.
I believe that's how it started. I could be
Yeah,
wrong, and if anybody
yeah.
knows, uh,
I suppose the origins of the colours are with the old British Army smock, the same colours. The
yes,
British Paris smock of World War II, and then
absolutely,
later, and of course, what we just introduced. There were two variants. There was a winter one and a summer one, wasn't there?
yeah, and
Or rainy season and dry season.
that's right, yes. And the
Yeah, originally.
next one is an Alouette helicopter landing between two thorn trees. I see you've got all the bird nests up in the leaves there, and
The Weaver birds, yeah,
four
yeah,
guys bolting to the four
yeah,
corners of the painting. That's also beautifully captured in terms of the color, the texture, the sky. A lovely painting. Even the reflection on
Oh, thanks, Tony.
the glass, the canopy.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. And
Well,
yeah, sorry, carry on.
no, well, that was actually painted in, I think it was 1979, and I'd started to do. It was my first Rhodesian Army print because I was talking to people quite regularly because they knew about my military painting of
Right.
Rhodesia, and they said, "Well, why did you do a print?"
Yeah.
So, because I think by that stage I had joined. Was that a bit later? I can't remember. But anyway, I got a phone call from Brigadier Dave Heppenstall to join the Rhodesian Army Association, which was being formed, and of course then the RAR Association as
Mm.
well, not long after. And I ended up on both. Um, but in a sense, it was around about that period that I started doing these paintings, and I met up with Pat Lawless again.
Ah.
This was during that period that Pat was in the UK. So I went, and strangely enough, Hamish McIntosh, who was on the course for
Mm-hmm.
came came to see me in Wales, and it just happened to be the same weekend, and it was also one RARTC day, Tungla Chung Day, and we were
Mm.
meeting up with Pat Lawless in Middle Wallop, right?
All right.
And so we drove up, met him, so that was a bit of a surprise for him. And he just said to me, he said, "Do you fancy coming out to Germany when I go back and do a commission for One Regiment Army Air Corps?" And that started my British Army painting.
Yeah, we'll be coming on to those next,
Yeah,
which are tremendous. But moving forward, we've now come across a photograph rather than a painting of Locust Ridge with
the,
three white guys. I assume
yeah.
you're in the middle.
No,
Um,
I'm actually. I think as you look at the photograph, I'm on the right.
on the right,
Uh,
yeah. Oh, you didn't have,
our OC,
yeah,
because Tonks Jones, Trevor Jones,
right,
Captain Trevor Jones or Tonks Jones, he had become OC A company by then. And
right.
in the middle is our American Willard Chomps Fleetwood,
Okay.
famous Willard Chomps Fleetwood.
And they're squatting around what looks like
Yeah,
a 75 recoilless
that's it.
rifle.
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
not the
yeah.
correct ammunition next to it. That looks like mortar shells, but they've.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of mortars there. I think we were selling somebody's
Oh,
shoes
for
as well.
sale, yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
I think we'd
And
taken some shoes off somebody.
and then we'll just quickly flick through the next ones. Four guys in front of a baobab called Masoja. I believe this is the painting, which it is actually put on Chris Cox's book,
Yeah,
or was it Alexandra Binder's book
yeah, Alexander
on
Binders. Yeah, that's
Masoja?
the one.
Yeah, that's it. Yes,
That's it. Yeah,
beautiful
yeah,
painting.
Masoja. So I did the cover for that. So Dave Heppenstall said, John, John, would you like to do a cover for the book? And
Yeah,
I illustrated the center as well. So
that's
I
right.
did about 20 or 30 illustrations of RAR
Yes.
uniform to bring it up to date.
And then the next one is a Dakota with all the guys jumping out the back at Operation Dingo.
Yeah, yeah.
Plumes of smoke going up there.
That
Uh,
was the one I did for Lieutenant Colonel Charlie Horst. That
right.
went to the the RLI officers mess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, excellent. They really
yeah,
are lovely. And then the next one is a Dakota dropping guys in the background. In the foreground are four men in 360-degree baobabs and a chopper. Once again, very evocative of the part of the country that you fought in. The tangent
yeah.
area is very dry, lots of baobabs.
I
The
think that was this. I think that was the second print I did.
old upside down trees,
Yeah,
as they call them.
when I
Eh?
got when I got back to the UK, I did one of the RAR then. So that was my RAR Fire Force
Beautiful,
painting. Yeah,
lovely.
quite nice.
And then a patrol of four guys walking along a pathway with a thorn tree in the background. You've drawn painted the grass very nicely.
Yeah,
it just in fact the tree. I had to figure out whether that was a photograph initially. It's very well done.
yeah,
And
yeah. Well,
what size would that painting be in reality?
that's that. I think that was about a 30 by 20 inch painting.
30 by
Just
20 inch.
quite a
Yeah,
reason, quite a reasonable size. It
right.
was done for Trevor Jones, Tom Jones, my OCP company.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some years ago he passed away, and the family then presented it back to me. So what I
Okay.
said to them, I said if I ever sold it, all the money would go to our Masoja
Yeah.
back in Zimbabwe. So and this is what the RAR regimental committee does: is we raise funds to help guys back in Zimbabwe, and of
Are
course
they
remembrance as well. Remember them.
They're wonderful guys. I went to the original Massager book signing in London and met,
Oh, right, you were there.
yeah, I met four
Yeah,
of them, four of the guys dressed
yes,
up in their blue suits, and
yeah,
oh,
that's it.
just lovely, solid
Yeah,
men. Tell you,
great guys.
beautiful.
Yeah,
The
brilliant.
the next painting is an RLI Fire Force 79 with two choppers coming in, and the guys sort of ready to light up the smoke by the
That's
look of
it.
it.
Yeah.
Beautiful
But
one as well.
that was a commission for, and his name slipped my mind, but it was a commission for an RLI trooper. He's in the painting. He's in the middle of the painting,
Hmm.
and he was thrilled with it. So, because he had these photographs. Of course, there weren't any helicopters in the photograph of them standing in the bush waiting for them.
Yeah,
I just put the helicopters in the dust and the other stick waiting. So, and he was thrilled with it. Absolutely thrilled.
beautiful.
So,
Absolutely
yeah,
beautiful. Now, John, the next one is one that I believe you did for Peter Baxter, which is looks like two buffles
yeah,
with some
two Caspers. Caspers.
Caspers, couple
Yeah,
of slopies sitting on their bums there,
yeah.
and
I think Baxter's one of them. He was
you,
always drinking beer.
I, it just stands out to me how excellent our vehicles were back in those days. I mean, this is a painting probably done in the 1970s, and only today the Western Army seem to be catching on to the V-shaped hulls
Yeah.
and
I know,
that
I
type
know.
of thing. It's quite impressive, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting because when was it? When they went into I think, anyway, they when the British Army went into the Middle East, some of those big ops, Afghanistan. I think it was Afghanistan,
Yeah.
and the parachute regiment approached the Rhodesian Army Association or the RAR uh, uh, Regimental Association, and they sent a lieutenant down. His name was, and I gave him all the uh, operational planning for Optingo, about 3 boxes worth, right?
Wow.
All the sit reps, you name it, the operational planning,
Oh,
maps, photographs, a lot.
oh, good
And
Lord.
and then Pat Lawless and members of the association then did a series of lectures for them to go back. But what we were emphasizing to them at the time was, and we were writing to the Ministry of Defense, we said, you need the guys going in there now need mine and ambush protected vehicles because you're going to come unstuck.
They were sending in Land Rovers.
Yeah, Land Rovers.
I
It
actually
was
mentioned that to
unbelievable.
them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. And
Mm,
we were trying to tell them. We said, look, South Africa,
mm.
they're sitting in fields in South Africa doing nothing. There's so many
Rustic.
of them,
Yeah.
and you could just buy them off,
Mm.
cheap probably. I don't know about cheap, but they probably could have got them at a reasonable price anyway.
Well,
But it
cheaper
took a
than
while.
cheaper
Yeah,
than the ridiculous ones they're producing in England for 6 million or 600,000 each.
yeah,
The
yeah,
one, the
yeah,
one,
yeah,
no armor plating in the front of the driver.
yeah,
I can't believe they
yeah,
use them.
yeah. I know. And funny enough, there was a somebody I knew. He was RSM of 9 Regiment, Mac McGee, and he was Pat Lawless's RSM in 9 Regiment, and we got on very well. And he said he was on one particular trip in the Middle East, and the Americans were saying, "You see, we produced all these mine protected because they call them RAPs.
MRAPs,
We
yeah,
produced," and he said, "No, you didn't."
yeah,
And, and he got me to send him photographs to show them. So you had the Pookie, well, the Husky
yeah,
now, the
yes,
South Africans, the South Africans produced a
yes.
similar mine protected vehicle. That's used by all the Western forces now, especially in the Middle East. Of course,
Did you?
Buffalo, which is an extension of the
Oh,
Capt.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. So it's all the technology goes back to South Africa and Rhodesia.
Well, I
You know,
believe a Rhodesian SAS guy immigrated to America and
yeah, you're right.
gave the designs to them.
That's it.
Um,
I'm trying to think of his name now,
yeah,
but I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
and
he
so
did.
now they call them MRAPs in America,
That's it.
mine
Yeah,
resistant armored personnel
mine
carriers.
resistant. Yeah, ambush protected. Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
We'll have to
yeah.
flip forward a little bit now. So the next painting is the beginning of your British commission. These they called Load Charlie to Go. They look like Cobras loading up air to ground missiles. Is that correct?
Oh, it was 9 Regiment Army Air Corps, and they were the first regiment in the Army Air Corps, British Army,
Yeah,
to have the Apache. It's the Apache
it's the Apache,
attack
right?
helicopter. Yeah,
Yeah,
AH-1. Yeah,
bit
yeah,
wider than the Cobra's, much narrower.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's a hell of a piece of kit.
what's
So I was lucky to do the first painting of the Apache for the British Army.
I live in Wiltshire, and all the military fields are around me, and
Yeah.
I've had a couple of those pop over the trees, and you can just see the
Oh,
top
I
of them.
bet.
quite
Oh, yeah.
quite
Yeah.
frightening, actually. I wouldn't like to be on the receiving end of one of them. And then the
Well, I think,
next one, sorry,
yeah.
carry on.
Go carry on. Yeah, carry on.
The next one is a Chinook up in the air, behind, like coming out of a camp, are two armored
Oh,
vehicles.
yes, yes. That funny enough, that was the speculative painting I did. Because I had a friend and his son was in the Queen's Dragoon Guard, Welsh Cavalry.
Right.
And so I had all these photographs and I found these paintings of warriors. I'm trying to think of the place. Well, I can't remember the place, but it's Afghanistan. And so and the Chinook used to fly in to resupply. So I thought, well, I'll paint that because it's quite spectacular. I painted it. Turned out it was the Royal Welsh,
Okay.
the Royal Regiment of Wales in Afghanistan. So, there I was, a Welshman, well, Welsh Rhodesian, um,
I
having painted this painting. But in the end, we actually presented that painting to the Royal Welsh,
bet they love it.
and it's sitting in the officer's mess now.
Oh,
So, yeah, it's a
fantastic.
lovely one to do, actually. So I've done quite a few that are in the Royal Welsh. And of course, there's the link with the RAR because we served alongside the South Wales border
Oh, yes.
in Malaya in '57.
Right. The next painting is what looks like a British Lynx aircraft on a wintry day with the wet tarmac. In the background, looks like an Alouette or something similar with an Islander wing over.
Oh, it's on the pan. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Aldergrove dispersal. Okay. Yeah,
That's right.
Alder.
Older
Yeah,
growth
that was
dispersal.
another commission. That was another commission I did for Army Air Corps.
Beautiful.
I don't think regiment. Anyway, that was at Aldergrove, so that's Northern Ireland. I did 6 trips to Northern Ireland during the Trouble, painting for
Okay.
different regiments, mainly Army Air Corps. But I did one. I did some work for Royal Irish, or the Logistics Corps. I did a painting for the Logistics Corps as well. Um, so and there was a Rhodesian connection there as well.
And then the next one is Corporal Bainbridge. It looks like a desert scene with
Yeah,
bullets ricocheting off the. That is the armored personnel carrier I was
yeah,
talking to you
the
about. It's
jackal. Yeah,
I I don't like it. I mean, it's got
they're
no
terrible.
frontal
Personally,
protection.
I think it's made by Sankey first, and it's add-on armor. You've got a basic vehicle, and of course they're all bare from there up, you know,
Yeah,
and sitting out in the open, and it's an add-on armor, the
and
jackal.
they
But he
cost,
he won the military cross during that. They got hit.
but there's no
Hit a mine.
no frontal protection.
Yeah,
£600,000 to make each one, I believe,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
could buy the South African ones for
yeah,
probably a
yeah.
bar of blue soap
Fraction of the
and
price.
bubble gum,
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that's
because
a
they were.
lovely
Yeah,
evocative painting, that one.
yeah. That's one of 3 that I did for the Royal Dragoon Guards, and the 3 are sitting in the Warrant Officers Mess in Catterick with the Royal
Gee,
Dragoon Guards. So I've done 3 for them, and they're all MC winners. There was one of a Challenger tank,
mm,
and the sergeant involved, Sergeant Richards, and he was blinded during the op by
mm,
his dust because they were hit by 7 IEDs. But he
good
continued the
God.
op blind, and he recovered.
Wow.
But he got the MC for that. And there was another one, Corporal Stinton, but he was unfortunately killed. But he held his position on the vehicle, and the painting
Yeah,
might turn up again. And But he won the great thing about that particular paint, that bloke who was there as well with him, helping get the casualty
mm,
into the vehicle, saw the paint. Yes, he'd seen my emails with the paint, and when I took the painting up, he had a very stern look on his face, and I thought, oh God, he doesn't like this paint. He came up to me, his arm around me, uh,
wow,
reassuringly, and he said that painting. I said, brought back the note. I said,
wow,
oh, he said, it was brilliant.
yeah,
It was great because he's in the painting. Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Beautiful
yeah,
painting. We'll have to whip through them a bit now. The
yeah.
next
Okay.
the next one is a lovely green field with looks like a Lynx chopper deploying men to the 360 around the chopper.
Yeah, Eagle
Uh,
Patrol. Those are the usual patrols done by Army Air Corps. They would take troops. They would go and do patrolling in the area, or VCPs. Big vehicle check. They put in hasty vehicle checkpoints
right.
in various areas in Ireland. So they'd come in, they'd just land, and then they patrol. Then would head off and create a VCP anywhere. You know,
So
So
that could hold 6 men by the look of it. That chopper,
I think the
six
links at
six
least eight. I think eight.
eight. Okay.
But I think with all the kit and everything, they probably carried less. But I think I'm correct. I think up to 8 men. Yeah.
And then a lovely painting of 4 links with men waiting to board. It's they seem to be boarding from the same side that we used to pilot on, and
Yeah.
it's a lovely, lovely painting that.
Yeah.
And then a Second World War one of the boxcars landing on a strip of land called Full Flaps.
Oh, full
Uh,
flaps. Well, that's an interesting one actually. If you got a little bit of time to, that was for Brigadier Mike Dauncey, and
mm-hmm.
he was I believe he was a second lieutenant going in. He was reading the map for the glider pilot. I believe he was a sergeant, and he only had his half wings because he hadn't been fully trained on gliders.
Oh,
So he went. That was Arnhem. So
oh,
he went
right,
in on the Arnhem lift, and he was wounded 7 times. Got the DSO, but
wow,
the glider pilot regiment and the Army Air Corps have always said he was the VC that never was. You
okay.
know,
And it's
very lovely guy. You know, Mike
amazing that.
Daunton.
Sorry to talk across you, John. It's
All right.
amazing that the Dakotas in the background there are the very same ones our Rhodesian Air Force
Oh
used.
yeah, same
Yeah,
DAC.
the
You know,
very
in
same.
fact, I think one of ours was an Arnhem DAC.
Yeah.
Had flown at Arnhem. Yeah, one of them.
And
Yeah,
then a couple of pictures of you standing beside the paintings you've done, and in your room painting away there. That looks probably like in the Balkans, the one it's
yeah.
called Pointing Rulement and
Roulemont. Yeah,
Roulement.
it's the change around of the companies. They were the I was with the Devonshire and Dorset.
Yeah,
Spent nearly 2 weeks in Bosnia,
Bosnia.
and
Yeah,
I had to wear British. You know, it was United Nations, and I
yeah,
had to, or the NATO. Yeah, and
fantastic.
I had to wear British Army kit in case the Serbians or somebody pulled me out of the vehicle, saying
Yeah.
that I was SAS or something.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I was wearing all the kit, the body armor and everything.
Yeah.
Um, and I went up onto Mount Dingband with them, and that overlooked Sarajevo. So, and funny enough, the 2 foreign legion had been killed the day before going up on that road.
Wow.
And then while I was there for a number of days doing sketching, and I think there is a photograph somewhere of me doing the sketching. And it
Yes.
all kicked off in Croatia and that area. The Serbians kicked off, so they had to get me out quick back to Split. So
Wow. Well,
yeah, they were all interesting. You know, I did a trip to Bosnia, did a trip to Kosovo with the Army Air Corps. So, and there were other trips I could have done, but either the war came to an end or the regiment had come back.
and
But
then there's
I did
what
a lot of interesting painting. You know.
one of Northern Ireland here, the tractor, um,
Oh yes, that's a vehicle checkpoint. Yeah,
and the Welsh
yeah,
warrior, the Welsh
yeah.
warrior.
Well, the
Uh,
Welsh Warrior one was a classic one that I did for the. I think that was the last commission I did for the army. Some years ago,
right.
and that was in Batus in Canada. And I spent 2 weeks on the plains with them. It was a battle group. In fact, that was the mechanized battle group that went to mechanized infantry battle group that went to Estonia. They were the
Right.
first ones in
Okay.
When Russia kicked off in Ukraine.
Interesting.
So they're the lead mechanized infantry battle group.
Right.
Yeah, really interesting.
Turning to your wildlife art, because we'll have to wrap up this talk now, I think.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
quickly go through it. The first one is a good dusting, which is a bull elephant or a cow with a calf
That's
and
it. Yeah,
got a bit of brush in its trunk there. That's lovely.
yeah.
Was that painted back in Africa or
Well,
while you
funny
were
enough,
overseas?
yeah, most of those I've actually painted back in the UK because
Okay.
I go out to see Graham and Sue, my
Mm,
sister in Botswana, and we
mhm,
do a trip up to the Magadi Gadi, and then we drive right through the Magadi Gadi up into Mound.
mhm,
Then we go to Chief's Island. And those are the good old days. Getting a bit too old for it now. And
mhm.
then up along the Gwai, and then we go up over the Gwai Bridge into Savuti. We spend days in Savuti, looking at the game and
Yeah.
painting. And I paint sketch out, and then we go up to Chobe. We used to spend some days in Chobe as well, getting all the game in.
I see
So we do
you
that every. Yeah,
the one you've done in Magadi Gadi is Zebra, which
yeah,
looks
zebras. Yeah, and that was an actual scene that I saw on the Magadi Gadi. Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
I was
But my wildlife painting goes back to when I was in college and in school. Yeah, we did. Yeah,
beautiful.
I was producing wildlife paintings like that when I was in teacher training college and art college.
You've got the
Way back.
proportions. You've got the proportions very good because a lot of artists
Yeah,
they've always
yeah.
got something that's too long or too big. Um, I was driving through a national park once, and my friend said, "Slow down, slow down." I said, "Why?" So he said, "Well, there's you coming to a zebra crossing," and of course there was zebra
The
walking
zebras
across the
appeared.
road.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a bit of
Great
humour.
stuff.
And then there's mud, glorious mud. That's a lovely scene.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
that many times on the Zambezi River.
yeah. I think when is that? I think that was we were on the Chobe, I think,
Yeah,
when I did that one. Yeah.
and then
So we've had some lovely trips actually in the bush with my
oh,
Sue and
it's
Graham.
it's magnificent. The
Yeah.
very last one is a beautiful big bull elephant standing under a
The bareback.
baobab tree.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
That's one I put together. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's a lovely one
And
indeed.
I think that was Savutia.
Mm.
There's a batch of hills in Savutia, and the big baobab is just there. So I should have had the elephant on the rise, the
Yeah.
baobab behind. You know.
And before we close, John, how many paintings have you done overall, both wildlife and army? Is it hard to tell, or just many
I
dozens?
tell you what, well, military. You've just seen a small factory. Really. Done
Really?
thousands of. I think I've done thousands. My small painting, I sort of do things like this for
Oh,
Brecon,
oh wow.
and I sell up in the Brecon galleries
Mm.
and local galleries. And I do a lot of these small paintings.
And
But
what
the big
is
military ones, I can't count. The other few years back, a painting turned up from Zimbabwe that I didn't even know I'd done. Yeah, and
and
this guy,
what's the most prestigious gallery or place that you've got a painting hanging in?
sort of thing. Well, I'm hanging in quite a few Army Air Corps messes. What's it? I can't really think of. Or the museum in Copenhagen, I think it is, because I did a painting for the Netherlands Marine Corps, funny enough, in Bosnia. So I did three paintings. I did one for the Army Air Corps. That one's in Middle Wallop, the officers' mess. I don't know if it's in the warrant officers or the officers' mess in Middle Wallop. That the other one, the Netherlands Marine Corps painting, is in the museum in Copenhagen. I think it's Copenhagen. And of course, then, well, I've got paintings of all the big messes for the British Army in various places. So I'm trying to
Well,
think where else.
I don't know if you know that Hugh Bomford, excuse me, Hugh Bomford, one of my corporals in the army,
Yes,
has started the museum in New Zealand, the Rhodesian
yes, he's done a
Service.
very good job there as well.
Yeah,
Excellent. Yeah, I know.
I was wondering if I could be cheeky enough to get you to talk to him and see if you could do a very special painting that could be hung up in the museum.
Yeah,
I'm being cheeky here, but
yeah,
it
yeah,
would be lovely if you could do that.
yeah. Get him,
Well,
get him to get. I think he's got my email. I think
yeah, we'll get up your
we
subject
can sort
matter.
something out. Yeah,
Yeah, even if it's one with uh, several different men standing next to each other in different uniforms,
yeah,
RLI, RAR, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
something
yeah,
like that, that
yeah,
encompasses the whole lot.
yeah.
Well, I've really, really, really enjoyed this talk, John, so much. You're a very interesting character, and your paintings are magnificent. And I'd just like to thank you so much for coming on board. I think it was about 9 months ago I asked you to come on
I
board,
know.
but
Sorry, Tony. A lot of things happened in
a,
between.
a slight exaggeration. But anyway, I'm glad Peter Baxter
Yeah,
pointed me in your direction. And
yeah,
thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. I really appreciate it.
yeah. Tony, it's been a real pleasure. Real
Okay.
pleasure. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Great stuff.
Okay. Take care and God bless. Bye bye.
Okay, bye then.